In this video, I'm going to be talking about the Great Awakening, the distortions within the Great Awakening, my opinion on the Great Awakening, and the system that you're placed in, and what you can do to assist in this awakening process at this time. So stay tuned. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to my channel. My name is Chris, and I intend to increase your consciousness by bridging the science and the spirituality. And in this video, we're going to be talking about the Great Awakening. Now, I know this phrase can be distorted in many ways because there's people that are out there currently that claim to be quote unquote woke, but currently are, portraying violence, rioting, looting. That's not necessarily who I agree with. Nonetheless, their reasoning for it. But my opinion on the Great Awakening, and from the research that I've done, goes in congruence with the research of Dolores Cannon and the Law of One. And I know this may sound very esoteric, but in these books they talk similarly about the fact that you and I are eternal spiritual beings living a very temporary human experience. Now, I know that sounds very far-fetched, but considering what has transpired in 2020, I think there should be at least a consideration or a possibility that this may be possible. Now, I'll go ahead and jump into it. So, Dolores Cannon. Dolores Cannon is a woman who is a pioneer of quantum healing hypnosis technique, also known as QHHT. Now, what that is she places people into a very deep hypnosis state where they are in a certain brainwave level, and once they reach that level, their subconscious or their higher self comes through and speaks to them. And Dolores Cannon's book, she has about 17 books, I believe, one of them being The 3 Waves of Volunteers and The New Earth. And so in all of these books, they're just basically transcripts of all of these people going into this hypnosis states all around the world, and all of them talk about this time happening right now on Earth, and they call it the New Earth. So in those transcripts, so even though these people were from around the world, they never knew each other, they spoke different languages, they all had said the same thing, that they had come here at this time to help Mother Gaia with this planetary consciousness or planetary level up of consciousness, or this rise in consciousness. Now, they also speak about the splitting of realities. So basically, I want you to understand, like, quantum physics. In quantum physics, it speaks about how all possible realities exist. And in Dolores Cannon's books, through the transcripts, many of her clients were speaking about this splitting of reality time that's happening right now. On one end of the timeline, you have the shame, the fear, the guilt, and anger, which is, you could think of that Earth being the old Earth or the third density Earth, and that being the less likely timeline that we would prefer to be on. I don't want to speak it in a more negative way, but there's also a time of another splitting of a reality where it's just more of a peace and a love and a joy and a happiness on that new Earth, and that's what they speak about in those books. And also the Law of One. The Law of One is also similarly the same process, but this time it's a group of researchers where the physicist placed his wife into a deep hypnosis with a group of meditators, and they also had an entity speak through them, and that entity was the name of the entity was Ra. It's a social memory complex speaking from a higher density about what's coming on, what's going to transpire in this time on Earth right now, and they call this time on Earth the harvest. But basically, what's happening is right now on the planet, the level of consciousness is rising, and for that to happen, it's going to require old things to fall apart. And they also, Dolores Cannon and the Law of One, they speak about similar things. So as I said earlier about the splitting realities, the Law of One talks about densities. In a similar way, densities are kind of thought of about like dimensions. But for most people, I think people would think of dimensions as another place, as in another time. But for the law of one, they speak of densities, and it's all here and now. The best analogy that I could think of about for it is like water. For the, you know how water can the material of water can actually be a liquid, or it could be a solid, or it could be a gas. In that same way, we have all densities right here on earth right now, and it's just different levels of consciousness, meaning different levels, different energy levels. So right now on earth, we are in this third density level, the 3D level, which is considered to be the more polarity level. You know, I am aware of myself, you are aware of yourself, people are aware of themselves, they are aware that they are, you know, conscious enough to do things, and, you know, able to do things for themselves and do things for others. But in lower densities, like in the first density is actually considered to be the elements, like the water, the fire, the wind, the earth. Even though it is, it seems like they are non-living things, those things have an energy behind it, which is considered consciousness, and that's just a different level of consciousness. Now, in the second density, that is the more animals and plants. So animals and plants, they do have a consciousness. We understand that they're living beings, but they don't understand that they don't have as self-awareness as much as we do in this third density plane. So in third density, we have this ability to become really self-aware of who we are, and we have this illusion of this separation with everybody else. And I'll go into that a little bit later. And I'll also explain densities in much more detail in another video. So I'm just gonna go ahead and move on. But both of these talk about Dolores Cannon's books, and Law of One, it's actually 5 books of, again, transcripts, basically verbatim of what this raw group, which they are 6 density beings, so they are at a much higher level than us. They are 6 density beings speaking through this woman, talking about this time happening right now, and they call it the harvest. Now, both Dolores Cannon and the Law of One talk about the veil of forgetfulness when it comes to earth, and that's why we don't remember that we are eternal spiritual beings living this temporary human experience, because we believe right now, or at least a lot of us have this belief that this is our only life, we're only gonna live once, just like Drake said, you know, YOLO, but he actually had it wrong. It's actually YOLA, which is you only live always. Ha! To do. No, I'm just kidding. Anyways, so we go through this veil of forgetfulness, right, to come to earth, and that's part of the earth plane, to come here right now, to forget who you are in order to remember who you are in this earth plane process. So the way you could think of earth is more of like a spiritual school to spiritually grow. So that's the reason we are here right now. And another big part of the reason why we don't remember of who we are is because we have been placed in this matrix. So the matrix that we have been placed in, first of all, I know this may sound, again, very esoteric, but consider this fact. You know how you can know that you're in the matrix right now? When you walk outside, what are people doing? You know, they're wearing masks. You know, before you go in, they're wearing masks or whatever. Before they go into a store, they have to put on their mask. They have to do this. You know, people are, you know, or even in cars, people in cars wearing their masks. Like, you know, makes no logical sense. You know, I know there is this thing that's currently around, and I won't say the name of it just because of certain algorithms within the YouTube niche that, you know, doesn't really allow me to say it. But nonetheless, I believe you guys all know what I'm saying. All know what I'm talking about. This thing that's been going around since, you know, March or whatever, it has been completely exaggerated. And again, the people that are in power, you know, you can consider them the elites, have placed us in this matrix, in this system of illusion where we believe that, you know, we are just a random species that just happened after a Big Bang theory, and now we just have to, you know, evolve and grow, and we have to go to school to learn certain things. And that's another thing too, is school has been placed purposely to indoctrinate, you know, this type of information, to really hide this type of information. But I'll get into that a little bit in another video as well. So in this matrix, right now what's happening on the planet, since the planet and our whole solar system is actually moving towards a more higher density place within the universe, meaning the energy levels are rising. As the energy levels are rising within our solar planet, so does Earth, Mother Gaia's. So as her planetary consciousness or energy rises, so do we, because we are a part of Mother Gaia. So at the same time, when that happens, more and more stuff from the dark come into the light. And you could really start seeing this when it has to do with the, again, people who are of the elites, people who are in those in position in government, where where there has to do with child sex trafficking, some rituals that people perform, very very dark, very very negative stuff. And I won't get too deep into that right now, because that's not my purpose for really sharing this information. My purpose for sharing this information is to so you become aware of it, and we can be better than that. And part of this matrix is that we believe that in this third density plane, which is where we are right now, this third density plane, it's a more polarity type of illusion. We believe we are separate from everybody else. For example, polarity meaning like dark, light, up, down, left, right. You're right, I'm wrong. That's another, illusion within our density that we, as humans, really try to attach to. We really try, or we really have the need to be right all the time, or we really have the, attachment to certain things. But as we rise to, certain levels of consciousness, which is, a higher level of energy or a higher level of intelligent energy, we become more aware that we are, this one nature. We are one, that there is no separateness. And when you think about this, all religions speak about this in some type of way, where they speak about treating each other like it's yourself, or treating each other with love, and treating each other with, some type of niceness, or some type of kindness, you know what I mean? And as if the other person was yourself, as if that other self was yourself. And there's a reason behind that. They all got this information, or the religions actually got the information, distorted their information a little bit from a teaching from above. So the law of one actually does speak about this, and they do speak about, well, the law of one, and the reason, religions have distorted it. So again, we have this illusion of separation here in this matrix. And again, another thing that, to help reaffirm that we are in this matrix is that right now it's much easier to get very unhealthy food than it is to get healthy food. If you look at your water has been contaminated. If you look at things like such things as vaccines, not the whole truth has been coming out about that of vaccines, and you have to really do your research in vaccines to really understand the effects that it may have on the body. And sometimes they're not the very positive effects. But again, I won't go into that right now. That could probably be another video. And these elites are having this war on your consciousness right now, which is, your consciousness is how you think, act, and feel. That's your energetic vibrational level. And these elites, through mainstream media, push a certain narrative to keep you in a state of fear, because they understand when the collective, which is yourself included, are in a state of fear, that you're more likely to listen to authority. And that's why the elites have this war on consciousness right now, which has to do with that of GMOs, which has to do with that of stuff in the food, which has to do with the stuff of vaccines. Again, that this thing that's going around, it's all in place to put us in a certain type of fear, and they create this divisiveness within us. Again, you have the illusion of the separation, where you have the left versus the right, when, to be honest, they both want the same thing. They just don't understand, who the common foe may be. And they have this illusion that it's each other, but it's really not. Anyways, so again, the elites will keep pumping out this fear mongering, and they understand all of this. They understand consciousness. They understand, that you are spirit, and they understand that if they play a very fearful event through that of the TV, the mainstream media, that the people will watch it, and they will digest it, and they will beat it. So in that same manner, this is happening with, what's been going on right now. And it's been placing people in such a, unbalanced state that you can really see the effects that it's having on the United States and the country. And it's all over. It's going all over. You know, you see riots happening left and right, and you know, people getting hurt for not necessarily the best reasons. And so, and this matrix that we are have been placed in, you know, it's such an illusion, but we don't understand that yet, because we have been living it since we were kids, since we were babies, and even our parents. You know, it's been for generations and generations that we've been living in this state of fear, and we believe that we need a hierarchy to really dictate the people. But what I'm here to tell you is that that's not, you know, that's not necessarily going to be the case. You know, they understand that placing you in such a state of fear. And I'll go ahead and share this scale of consciousness right here, which is a vibrational scale of consciousness. And in the bottom, it states that there's fear, shame, guilt, and then you go on to neutrality, and then peace, love, and enlightenment. So what we truly are in the higher realms, in the fifth density realms, we are that of peace, love, and enlightenment. You know, we don't understand these bottom, lower emotions such as fear, guilt, and shame in those higher states of emotions. But here in this third density plane, we do get to experience these bottom emotions, and the elites place this matrix within this system to keep us in those states of consciousness so we can really listen to authority in that type of way. Now, for you to really break from this matrix, it really requires you to go inward. So that's why right here I have the collective and you, because understanding this information and looking at the books like The Law of One and, you know, transcripts from Dolores Cannon, they all speak about this thing called, you know, us being a unit, united, being that of one, seeing us as non-separate from the other, treating each other as the other self. And the more we do treat each other with, you know, peace, with love, and with unity, the more our consciousness level will rise, and the more that this illusion of the matrix will fall apart, because they need our attention to be placed on those type of illusions in order for it to be into our reality. But once we take that off and we pay attention to more of a united front, of a more loving nature, then this illusion will basically crumble, and it's going to keep crumbling. You know, that's why right now, as the planet does rise its level of consciousness, there's going to be more and more stuff hidden in the dark coming into the light. And you know, there probably will be this splitting of realities where you'll have some people living in that fear, of that shame, and that guilt, and that anger, and it won't be very positive timeline. But you will have those that are living in the 5D, which is the love, the peace, and the unity, that, you know, they will be living in that fifth dimensional realm. And once you understand that we are one, you can really start tapping into that 5D consciousness. And then it's going to really require yourself, your consciousness, to go within and figure out which is the ego. And the ego is basically anything that's really reactionary to those lower states of mind, which is the fear, the shame, the guilt. The more you really attach to those lower emotions, that's the more that your ego is more in place. And a lot of times this happens, you know, it's very subtle at first. You know, a lot of times people could even just be on the freeway, and a person cuts them off, and they're just like, oh my God, you know, like that got me so angry. Or, you know, certain things might not be in place correctly in the house even, and they're just getting so upset about it. They are reacting to their emotions and evoking that and projecting that out. Or, you know, something could be happening on the TV where, you know, a man gets harmed by another man, you know, and that man has a certain occupation and a certain skin color, and it's going to evoke a certain emotion within a group of amount of people, and they're going to really come out and display that anger out. And you see, in that type of way, the elites understand that they can really play with people's emotions and really bring out that fear and that anger and that anxiety within these people, because they are not consciously aware of their ego. So in order for us to really break from this matrix and move into the fifth density, the 5D peace, love, and enlightenment consciousness, we're gonna have to really go within and really work on ourselves, and the more we work on ourselves, we're going to have an effect on the collective. And that's why right here I have the collective and you, because you as an energetic spiritual being have an effect on the collective. And the more that you are being peace, love, and unity, the more that will have an energetic effect around you. Even if a person may be having a bad day and they try to evoke that on you, you can really just, you know, neutralize the situation. Just be like, you know what, I hope you have a good day, and just walk away. You saying that will have an energetic effect on that person, and maybe, just maybe, it'll, you know, have a domino effect, and they'll go ahead and say that to another person. The more that we treat each other as if we are the other self, the more we have the ability to really move into this the timeline that we prefer, which is the peace, the love, the enlightenment. And as spiritual beings, we have that ability because on the deepest levels, our consciousness is all connected. And that's what this law of one speaks about. It speaks about our consciousness, our energy, our intelligent energy, all connected to this source energy, to this source, whatever you may want to call it. You may want to call it God, you know, whatever you may want to call it. It doesn't really matter. But there is that of us all being connected to that one, even, you know, plants, even animals. So we are all one because we are all part of this source energy. And to really treat others as if they are not a part of that, that's, you know, that will be the incorrect thing to do. And that's why there is such a thing as karma, because what you do onto someone else, you do to another aspect of yourself. And so the more that we bring in this peace, this love, and this unity consciousness, the more we are able to transcend that of this third density illusion, this polarity, this separation, and we can really defeat what's really out there right now. So I hope, you know, you really understand what's going on with the awakening process now. This is my opinion on the awakening process. Again, I'm just sharing information from what I've read, and I'm going to keep doing this, you know, I'm going to keep researching that more and more, because I believe that now is, you know, most grateful time on earth right now to be on earth, because it's very historic. You know, we have this chance to really shift the planet into a timeline that we prefer. And it's really going to require not just myself, but it's going to require yourself and, you know, everybody to go within, fix whatever needs to be fixed within there, and really project and be that loving person and be that united person and being that peace. And I know it sounds like a very hippie message, but this is really what needs to really be happening. And when you understand the science behind it, which is quantum mechanics and quantum physics, I'll go ahead and speak to you about that in a different video as well. But quantum mechanics and quantum physics really, it's a science that really makes this, or it's a possible science that makes this theory possible. Okay, very possible. Because, and I'll go ahead and explain that in another video as well. So I hope you like this video. Go ahead and hit the subscribe button and like button, and I hope you share this with your friends and family, because this is a time of an awakening, and it really is, and it's going to really require us to really go within and really understand that we are spiritual beings, and that we have to really bring that power within us, because God is within you. Or source energy is within you. You are a part of that source energy. It's time to start acting like it. So I hope you guys have a great day. Much peace and love. Thanks.